Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner, this time Boys Basketball Edition. I'm Jake Lancer with Danny Lynch for HWTV, and today we're here with varsity boys basketball head coach David Rebibo. The Wolverines are currently undefeated in preseason play as they get ready to make another run for a state championship.
Before we get into the details of your players, can you give us a little background about yourself, how many years you've been coaching, and where you've coached before?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. You guys did a really good job with Coach Hurley, so I'm excited to do it. I'm entering my 7th year here at Harvard Westlake. Prior to that, I was at the University of San Francisco as an assistant coach for the San Francisco Dons. And prior to that, I was at El Camino Real High School as the varsity head coach for 6 years.
How do you think this team differs from last year's team, seeing as so many seniors have graduated?
You know, we have a lot more experience. Last year was really a blur. We went from practicing outside, no contact, to, hey, we can do things outside with minimal contact because of the outdoors, to your first games in a week. So that was obviously really intense. And with that, we had to get into game mode pretty quickly, which is not something you typically do in preparation for a basketball season. Typically, you have your summer where you kind of figure out your identity, what you have, what direction we kind of need to go. Then you get into the fall, which hopefully validates what you saw in the summer with improvement, right? Because we hope after the summer our guys are getting better, you're getting stronger. And then you get into the season, and then you really start to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. That's a significant amount of time that we lost. That being said, we had majority of that this year. Obviously, the summer we didn't really have because our season ended June 17th. Then we went to Arizona for 2 weeks for viewing tournaments. And then we came back in the fall, and we had a legitimate fall, which was great. The thing that we have is experience. We did graduate 2 seniors who started last year, and we have 5 this year who all are great and play a significant role in our team. And I think that's been the major thing is experience.
And who do you think has stepped up into the leadership role this year, and how do they affect the culture of your team?
Cameron Thrower, Dante Russell are incredibly vocal leaders. They do a great job of setting expectations, holding guys to specific standards. But then we have kind of silent leaders, Landon Lewis, Jacob Huggins, Brady Dunlap, who kind of just go about their business and they do it the right way, the way we expect. We're trying to get those guys to be more vocal, but that's something that takes time as their comfort level grows. Their confidence in speaking up and saying certain things will as well. Culture is such a hot topic, I feel like, in sports now. We believe in standards, right? And if our standards are high, our players drive our culture, not the coaches. And that's truly what we believe and feel. And because our standards are so high, and I think we have great buy-in, our players set the culture and create the culture.
Coach, coming off a season where you were 10-1 in conference play and won the Mission League, what are the goals for this season?
The goals for us start very small, and then they obviously expand. For us, goal number 1 is to be the best team on our schedule. Not the most talented, and not win every game, but be the best team together on and off the court, connected offensively and defensively, and doing the right thing by the standards that we set for the guy next to you and the guy behind you, right? The next thing, obviously, is to win the Mission League. We want to continue that. We've won it 3 years in a row now, and we're looking for a 4th. And then after that, obviously, it's to get in the Open Division, win an Open Division title, and hopefully an Open Division state title.
You talked about being a great team on and off the floor. How did that really play a factor in your guys' recent trip to Arizona last weekend?
We typically travel once or twice a year for events, and I do that. We schedule that by design. It's 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 days of our guys together through good and bad, which you learn a lot, right? There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. You can't just go home and go to your room and play video games. You got to go into the room and be with the guy next to you, and you have to look at that person, whether you played good or bad, or whether they played good or bad, whether coach is mad or not. So that's a huge component of our team building and team dynamic. So those things are huge for us. This last trip was a national event that we got to play in Arizona, and it was great. Just a great experience. Really, really quick turnaround time for us, flying up the day of a game, playing late, waking up the next morning, playing in the afternoon, and then flying home. So it was a bit of a blur, but a really cool experience for our guys.
Now having a year of experience under their belts, how will the dynamic sophomore duo of Robert Hinton and Trent Perry be incorporated into this year's game plan?
Well, they're both doing a really good job, and there's another sophomore, Christian Ori, who is doing a lot of good stuff for us as well. The number one thing that I think about when I think about our team is obviously we really are connected. Number one, and number two, we have great depth, and those two play a huge part as well as Christian in that depth, along with a slew of other guys. We have found ourselves in somewhat competitive games in the first quarter, but then it seems like as the second quarter goes on, we're wearing you down, and by the third quarter, teams are fatigued because we're throwing so many bodies at them, which has been a huge factor. Trent is getting better. He's maturing. He's trying to take on his role and his position as a point guard, and he's doing a great job of that. Robert's learning and evolving with every game, and Christian is just a rock-solid defender, shot maker, decision maker, and just continues to get better and better.
Yeah, you talk about the depth of this team. What are your hopes for the progression of Nicholas Kamenia this year and looking ahead to the future? And do you think he has what it takes to lead this team for 3 more years?
Nicholas is incredibly talented. I think he grows every time I see him. As we were walking through the airport, it looked like he grew 2 or 3 inches in a day. His versatility and his understanding of the game is special, and I do believe that he's going to be a special player in our program.
How does having veteran leaders in the locker room like Cameron Thrower and Landon Lewis, who have played with players like Johnny Juzang and Adam Hinton, affect the team?
Well, it's significant because they, as we talk about culture and leadership, they see how Johnny, Mason, Holden, Brace Doughton, Spencer Hubbard led, Truman Gettings, Adam Hinton, and now they can pull the things that really worked from those guys and kind of put their own twist on it and make it unique to them, which I think is really important. They also have an understanding that the road to success and leadership is not easy, and those guys, they felt the heartaches and the pain, and they have an understanding of that. Some different than others. Landon's experiences were through injury, unfortunately, and now he's kind of reaping the rewards of patience, getting healthy, and doing things a certain way. Cameron Thrower had to buy his time, had to learn, had to mature, so he can talk about those things. Dante Russell, very similar. Derek Schneider, Cuban Molson. They've all seen and been through everything and seen different leadership styles, and I think that understanding helps impact our program significantly.
My last question would be, we've talked about a lot of different players on this team. Who's one more that we haven't talked about that we should look out for this season?
The one thing I would say to you is on any given night, it could be anybody. You've got Cameron Thrower, Brady Dunlap, Jacob Huggins, Landon Lewis, Dante Russell, Trent Perry, Robert Hinton, Christian Ori, Derek Schneider, Nicholas Kamenia. The list goes on and on and on. And we have found ourselves in positions where every game somebody is stepping up and doing something. Now you have your staples. We know Jacob and Landon are going to compete and guard, and their length and versatility is going to be troubling for a lot of teams. We know Cameron and Brady are, in my opinion, are the 2 best shooters in maybe all of California. And having those guys on the wing is a luxury for Dante Russell and Trent Perry, and Robert Hinton's ability to be dynamic while learning and growing as a player just puts so much pressure on teams and defenses that I really believe on any given night somebody else is going to step up, along with the consistency that we get from our veterans.
Seeing as this team is already off to such a great start and you have so many great players, how do you ensure that they keep playing at this already high level?
That's a great question. It is definitely something that is on every coach's mind, right? You don't approach every game like I'm never going to walk into a game feeling good whether a team's 2-7 or 7-2 or 9-0. We're going to approach it the same way, and we try to impress upon our players the importance of if we are focused on today, but we're preparing for tomorrow. And every time we have a lapse, every time we take it for granted an opportunity to get better and play, we lose something. And the teams that we want to compete with at the highest levels aren't doing that. They're competing at the highest levels and trying to get better each time. And that's what championship programs do. They find a way to get better. They find a way to stay engaged, and they learn, right? Losing is part of the process. There are good losses, right? You don't want to admit it, and maybe I'll ask for this to be stricken off the record, but there are good losses, and sometimes a loss is what you need to recenter you. Some of our biggest runs in my 7 years here have come after a loss. Maybe a game we shouldn't have lost, maybe a game that was a coin flip, but there were significant things that we didn't do as it pertained to effort, focus, or discipline, and whatever the scout may be that equated to that, and that understanding and that sense of urgency. It's hard to be replicated sometimes without suffering a loss.
And what do you consider a successful season?
I consider us getting better throughout the year. I consider our guys staying healthy, having fun, a successful season. And then, I believe if we're doing all those things, if we're getting better, if we're staying healthy, that everything else is going to kind of take care of itself. I'd be lying to you if I told you I don't want to win the Mission League. I don't want to get to the Open Division. I don't want to win the Open Division. Those are goals that we have, and there's no shortage of desire there to win that. But I would say those things are not attainable, or will never come close if we don't continue to get better, have fun, and grow as a team.
Thank you so much for joining us on your first Coach's Corner of the year. Good luck to you guys. I'm Danny Lynch with Jake Lancer. We hope to see you guys next time on Coach's Corner.